Good morning.
Good morning.
It is Sunday, September 5th. Having a little bit of trouble keeping my phone where it's supposed to stay and not sliding. Hello, I don't know how long it's been since our last video.
About 2 weeks.
Yeah, a lot. It just seems like a lot is going on. If you follow astrology, a lot is going on anyway. So we're here to give our updates on our journey of, I don't even remember the name of this playlist. A year of what is it called?
Self-discovery.
A year of self-discovery, and we are into September, and it has been, my opinion, for me personally, a year of self-discovery, and I think we hit the fast forward button when Roger got off the road on May 12th. There's so many things. Well, everything, right? Can we say just about everything has changed?
It's different?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that's accurate.
So, go with your update. Where are you at today? If it looks cloudy in here, it is because it is. We have a couple things that smudge lit.
Smudges going. Well, trying to put my coffee down so it doesn't spill. It's been almost 4 months, you realize, since I quit. Now, we've been together pretty solid since really the middle of April, because we'd gone on vacation and and then I pretty much decided to be done with over the road right after we got done with vacation. I never did go do another trip.
Yeah, and just to be clear, he does have a job.
Oh.
That's the couch that comes off on you.
The couch is falling apart on me. So yeah, well, yeah, I didn't retire. I don't know that I could retire. That's one of those things that sounds like. Anyway, I definitely still struggle with where it's funny because I had done a lot of reading in old journals, and there were always references of when I get off the road, everything will be wonderful. And between Amelia and I, and quite frankly, for me, it's almost been exacerbated because I'm here all the time and we're still moving forward. But I guess the bottom line, in my opinion, very slowly, and maybe that's not the same for Amelia. As a couple, I mean, I've made great strides personally. In fact, yesterday I shared with Amy a picture that I'm on my second round of 20 or 75 hard, and I was on day 20 of my second round yesterday. And it's funny because she asked me if I weighed myself in a while, and I haven't really done that, but I do know when I put my belt on last night, I was on the smallest hole there was. And I used to be the biggest hole. So anyway,
That's a big deal.
It kind of is.
Not kind of.
Yeah, I mean, so I feel really good about myself personally, but I still struggle with the relationship that she and I have, because I am very clear that she doesn't want me in her space most of the time. And that's the frustration that I live with, because I thought once I was off the road, she'd be glad to have me around all the time. And
so I am glad to have him around.
she is glad to have me around. She just doesn't show it because she's afraid I'm gonna, well, you can fill in those blanks.
So what progress have you made in the last 2 weeks?
I'm just working on myself and trying to keep myself. I don't even know how to answer that. To be honest, I'm trying to be authentic. I feel like I struggle with with our relationship, as you well know, and um, I don't know. We have not planned anything today, so
Sometimes it's good to just shoot from the hip.
so I'm shooting from the hip, and I feel like I'm drawing blanks. I don't know. So I don't know. What do you have that you want to?
Well, it's extremely difficult at the moment, and I constantly feel like I am a failure when it comes to him and his disappointment in me and me not being where he wants me to be. I reminded him, that it's only been a very short time of him being off the road. And I mean, there are just so many changes, and it's living in reality instead of the fantasy land. Um, it's becoming very clear to me that um, because of the way that I was conditioned and because of not wanting to feel, it's really easy to not be in my life, to live in a fantasy. And one of the things that I look at is my house and how it is not how I want it to be. And for years, I could just ignore stuff. And now it really is like, and it is the trauma glasses and having the trauma glasses on and then taking the trauma glasses off, and then putting the reality glasses on. I have started to really look around me and just really find things that are not acceptable. I have a chat group with my kids, with just me and my 5 kids. And I think it was beginning of last week, I had sent them all a message and told them that I really apologize for not being present in part of their lives and probably a good majority of their lives. I couldn't be. There was just, my memories surfaced when I was 30. And when that happened, all kinds of stuff. I think my eating just got totally out of control. I don't think I drank at that point. I don't think I started drinking until I was like 40. 45, somewhere. But I think the eating got way out of control and I checked out even more out of my life. Not knowing what to do, feeling overwhelmed, not understanding what was happening to me, what had happened to me, why I couldn't get my shit together, why I couldn't be happy, I think. But I'm understanding a lot more. I have gotten these 2 other books, and we haven't read in that other, what's her name?
Ashamara.
No, the other one.
Susie?
No.
Charlotte?
No, the gal that that does the breath work. That nope. Anyway, she's so far out of our minds that, and I want to finish that book. It's doing the work, and I think there's some really, really good stuff in there, and I want to review it and go back to it. However, I have gotten this new book called Healing the Long-Term Effects of Childhood Adversity, The Deepest Well by Nadine Burke Harris. She is an MD. She's a rather very fascinating person. But what this book is helping me understand is to really understand what happened to me as a child, what happened to me biochemistry-wise, what happened to me neurologically speaking. There are a lot of things that go on hold when you suffer childhood trauma, and it doesn't have to be sexual abuse. It can be poverty. It can be your parents are incarcerated. It's going back to that ACEs test, and this book is really fascinating, and I really highly recommend it for anybody that's gone through any kind of trauma as a child and you can't quite figure out what the hell's going on in your adult life, why you can't be happy, why you can't keep relationships, why you can't keep a job, why you are the way you are, and maybe you're really unsettled and you can't get balanced and you can't get grounded, and you try things and they don't work. And this explains a lot of that, and it also explains the solution, which is what I've always been geared toward in my coaching business. Is we have to have a solution here. We can't. I don't let clients leave after an hour session and give them like no solution to what's going on in their lives, and usually we go through the session and they're coming up with reasons why things are going the way they are. So she talks about healing the long-term effects of childhood adversity and the research that she's involved in and has been involved in over 10 years, is figuring out what really happens in the body. There are kids that go through traumas that just stop growing. They don't grow anymore. And you have a 7-year-old standing in front of you and they're the height of a 4-year-old. And it's not because they have any kind of syndrome. It's because that they suffered a trauma and that's how their specific body reacted to it. What they're also finding is, and this is the part that I find fascinating, is the whole autoimmune spectrum is probably started in my childhood. And it's not just one thing, but it was the trauma, and it was the vaccines and the immunizations that I received as a child. It's the stress, the toxic stress factor. She talks about that in this book. And so it's really, really what I've learned in the last 2 weeks is it is really important for me in this individuation process to take little Amy's hand and recondition her. When things come up, we went down and saw the train Monday, and there was a couple of things that came up, and I didn't say anything to him for a while. I didn't say anything that afternoon or I think it was the next morning when we were walking. And I then said to him later, I said, "You're practicing on being a healthy male." And we got into quite a discussion about how males still today in 2021, with all the information that's out there, I think they get a raw end of the deal. There are not people, there's people like Tony Robbins and whatnot, but there are not groups of men meeting for coffee on Wednesday morning talking about their relationships and their feelings and who they are and what happened to them as kids and how that has shaped who they are today and how they behave and how their actions come out and things that they say and just are not appropriate, and nobody's standing up to them and saying, whoa buddy, that is not appropriate. That you just mentioned, or you just said, or you just described, or you just behaved, or it's like. And so I told him, I said, well, you're practicing being a healthy male. You have no clue, given his conditioning, how to be a healthy male. And so we have to, I'm searching out mine. And so my protocol now is, when I have a thought, I'm trying to come up with an example that happened in the last 2 weeks. What I've been doing now is stopping, talking to Amy, and saying, okay, now, one of the examples was, men can't do anything. They just can't, they don't get it. They're not going to get it. They're never going to get it. That's my, naysayer. And then I stop and I say, is that true? Now, is it true that Roger doesn't know how to do anything? Well, that's not true. That statement is not true. And this goes back to the Byron Katie stuff. When you do the worksheet, you have a question like that. Men don't know how to do anything. And then you go through a series of questions. And I would highly recommend her stuff, because I've used her stuff for 20 years, to get to the bottom of something that is going on, an issue or something that is happening. And so you go through the questions. Is that true? Well, no, it's not true. And so I take her by the hand and I'm like, okay, so that is an old behavior. That is an old conditioning that I went through, that I learned. And that was probably, the men that took me and did things. I can't even imagine what they really were like, as far as stupidity and all kinds of stupid things. I don't know. So it's my job to recondition. It's my job to understand, first of all, the conditioning that happened, call it forward, see it for what it is, and then recondition her, so that we can go on and have a relationship with our partner like we want. I am not anywhere near being able to do what it is he wants to do. Now, that doesn't mean I don't want to. I know I'm not ready. I know I haven't done the work yet. I know that the glasses continually start to come off, and at some point in time, the trauma glasses will remain off. I was listening to Christina Lopes yesterday, and she talks about that exact thing, that you have to keep reconditioning and keep reconditioning and keep reconditioning until there is no trauma left. You don't get, and like she explained it, it's not that the trauma, you never get to a point where you say, okay, the trauma never happened. Like my life now is like it never happened, because you probably will always get triggered here or there. But you get to a different level where if you get triggered, you come back and you go, okay, I've covered that. Yep, I acknowledge that. And you move on. And you don't spend 6 months there, or you don't spend 6 hours there. You spend a little bit of time feeling and then releasing. I posted a thing yesterday, maybe, that I heard from Lee Harris. And it's, I can release my feelings now without making a story out of them. I don't have to go into the whole story. I can feel, acknowledge, understand, and then release those feelings and not have to make a big, huge story about it. I'm getting rather exhausted with the stories. And this work, I've said it before in other videos, is exhausting. It can be really exhausting, but it's really worth it, because I do want a relationship with him. But we've only been working at it for 4 months. We have not been at this stage of the game for very long. And so I feel like I'm working every day towards the goal of having that kind of relationship that I want with him. And, you dip your toe in and then you come out, and you dip your toe in and you come out. And pretty soon I'm going to just jump in. But I'm not there yet today. I also got this book that I haven't read anything in yet, but this is the Comprehensive Resource Model, Effective Therapeutic Techniques for the Healing of Complex Trauma. And she deals a lot with post-traumatic stress, which I realized he and I have. And from the Deepest Well book, I realized there was a big difference between his trauma and my trauma. And that was, his trauma was at his house. His dad was the problem. And the fact that his dad beat his mom, and your safe haven, your home should be your safe haven as a child. And his was not. And it had pornography, and it had, stuff that a young kid should never be exposed to. So his house was not safe. My house was mostly safe. Most of my abuse happened outside of my house, down at the babysitter's, and then later on in school. Yes, I'm sure there were parties at my parents' house where men, got to me. I can remember things like, "Oh, I'll take Amy to the bathroom. She needs to go potty." And I remember things happening. And so, it was friends of the family. But most of the time, I would go from my abusive trauma situation at the babysitters in Englewood, Colorado, and come home to a safe. And then, you have other things like alcoholism, and because my parents drank pretty heavily for quite a while until I was in 6th grade. And we moved when I was 4 or 5 from Englewood to St. Louis because of my dad's job. But a lot of trauma, a lot of abuse. My best friend's dad raped me while we were in St. Charles. That happened there. It seemed like most of the sexual abuse trauma stopped. The overt sexual abuse trauma stopped once we moved out to New Melly. So anyway, I am really working hard, I feel, on myself and really understanding who I am and how I show up of a day. And what I was going to say earlier, and I'll finish that statement, is that it's really important for me to get my self-care pieces in place, and anybody out there that has suffered trauma, because the energetic piece and the biochemistry piece, what they're finding in the research is that the trauma may have ended when you were 2. However, it can still affect your biology at 62. And that's what they're finding with a lot of the autoimmune stuff. A lot of cancer is connected to childhood trauma, and the patterns, the biochemistry patterns that start to be put in place back then, or systems in the body that went on hold. A lot of us are aware that, when a kid starts drinking or smoking marijuana or taking drugs or whatever, sometimes they get emotionally stunted at that age. And so they may, drink the rest of their lives, and you wonder why a 53-year-old person acts like they're 12.
Because they probably are.
Yeah, their emotional growth got stunted back when they started using drugs or alcohol to not feel or to check out of their lives. So I think part of, and now that I'm talking about it, I think part of my exhaustion and my tired is, this is heavy work. I feel like this is really heavy stuff. And I'm good with that. However, I need those self-care pieces in place. And I do have a lot of self-care stuff in place. However, I'm not as consistent as I would like to be. So that is coming this week, because the astrology is in Virgo, and Virgo is all about your daily routines and habits, and your, what you're eating, and your exercise routines, and how you manage stress, and how you do all of those things. So how I look at astrology is, how is it supporting me? What is it supporting me in doing? And right now it's supporting me in getting those self-care pieces in place, other than my yoga at my breath work. I just started a new breath work practice Monday. So, my morning pages, I've been doing those for a long time. That one hasn't fallen off. I would like to get back to the cold showers and the meditation. The meditation is huge. Meditation is huge to disrupt those old patterns of behavior and those old energetic patterns that keep replaying. What time is it? We're on 25 minutes. So I feel like I've talked most of this time. Did you want to?
You have, to be clear.
Well, yeah, you gave me the floor. And so
I would say...
I guess I had a lot to say.
That's okay. You do have a lot to say. I will say one... Well, I don't want to be like Debbie Downer here, or Roger Downer, I guess. We have had lots of wonderful time together in the past 4 months. We saw the beaver again the other night.
Yeah.
We do our, not every night, but we ride our side-by-side up the road on a regular basis.
And the beaver is still there.
And we did get on the Harley 3 weekends in a row. And she did kiss me in a meaningful, loving way about 2 weeks ago. You know what Yoda says.
Yeah, I know. There is no try, there's only do. Well, I did.
Yes, I know. So there's a lot of positive, and yes.
You started your statement out by saying, I don't want to be Debbie Downer, Roger Downer.
That's what I said.
There wasn't any downer there.
No.
Or you were saying you were not going to be.
Well, I was kind of at the beginning. That's what I was referencing. I came full circle. Oh, Lord. I don't even want to say that. Reminds me of that woman. Circle back or whatever. Anyway. So yeah, there's... And if I could get far enough on the taxes here this afternoon, maybe we can get on the Harley again. Maybe. I don't know.
I would like to get on the Harley.
Okay. So, I'm
moving on.
I feel complete.
There's that book. I'll hold it up there so you can. And I know it's backwards.
You have to look at it in a mirror, then you can read it.
Yeah. If any of you out there are on the same journey, and I haven't said this in a while, like, share,
prescribe,
tell people, subscribe.
Oh, subscribe.
Subscribe to my channel, and tell other people to subscribe to my channel. One of these days, we're gonna, I don't know. Anything's possible these days. You never know what's gonna happen.
And on a hugely positive note, we are really moving forward with Amelia's coffee house, dessert, and wine. And if you haven't seen the pictures of our
Dessert and Spirits.
Did I say?
And we're going to change the name anyway. So.
Yeah, we're not positive what the name is, but we know Amelia's going to be in there.
I think. Maybe not.
Because it's...
The Magic Bean sounds fun.
Magic Bean?
Yeah.
Like the Magic Rocks? Okay.
Yeah. So, we will see you next time. Leave comments below if you have any questions. I'll interact. I'll answer questions. So we'll see you next time. Have a good holiday weekend.
Maybe next time I'll have more clarity on what I want to say, because
maybe he's not so good shooting from the hip.
Yeah, well, I can talk all day long but
yeah, true.
You had a lot to say, so
yeah,
I honor that in you.
All right, bye.
Bye.